Hola! Welcome to another Spanish lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be doing an introduction to a very important part of speech. Get your cuadernos, get your bolígrafos, and let's get started. So today's topic is all about a very crucial part of speech. Now, one of the things that I like to tell students is parts of speech in a foreign language, they behave the same way parts of speech do in your native language. And so it's not rocket science, it's not anything different that you're going to be encountering in terms of how they function. Today's topic, we're going to be doing an introduction to our action words. These are our verbs. In Espanol, we would say verbos. So that looks like what it is, doesn't it? But in talking to you about verbs, I want to tell you a little story. All right? So once upon a time, in a language called Espanol, there was a community called verbs or verbos. In that community, there lived three families. So we have three houses, three casas, tres casas for the three families. Casa número uno, casa número dos, casa número tres. Tres casas in this community called verbos. Now, in each of these three houses, there lived three families. Well, not in each house, but there lived one family per house. And the names of the families were, or are, because they haven't stopped ceasing to exist, have they? AR, ER, and IR. So the essence of what I'm trying to say here is that when it comes down to verbs, there are three families of verbs. They're called AR verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs. And how you know the family of the verb is by looking at the last two letters of what is called the infinitive. We're going to discuss the infinitive in a little bit. Don't worry about it. I just want to get the family set up for you. Now, in each of these families, there lived four characters or four types of people. And so, in the AR family, we have an angelic being. In the ER family, we also have an angelic being. In the IR family, there is an angelic being. But you know, where you have good, you are also going to have bad. And so in the AR family, unfortunately, we have a criminal element. In the ER family, likewise. And in the IR family, criminal elements. You're also going to have persons in the family who are not altogether well. You know, they have some ailment or something of the sort that's wrong with them. And so we have some persons in these families that are going to be having some heart problems. And so in the AR family, you have a heart problem. In the ER family, you also have a heart problem. In the IR family, you have a heart problem. That's an internal issue. And you're going to have external issues where you have internal issues, right? So in the AR family, we have foot problem in the ER family, and foot problem in the IR family. Now let's talk about these three families a little bit. When we speak about the angelic being, let's grab another one of these and put it right down here. When we speak about the angelic being, what we're talking about is what is called regular verbs. I like to also call them Christian verbs. They do what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, when they're supposed to do it. They do not break the rules. They are goody two shoes. Whatever the rule says is what they do. Those regular verbs. In each family, we also have what are called irregular verbs. So our other category, irregular verbs. And I like to call these criminal verbs. So what criminals do is break the law. They break the rules. They don't do what they're supposed to do. If the rule says they're to do A, they do Z. If the rule says they're to do 1, they do 100. And so the criminal verbs or the irregular verbs, they do not abide by the rules at all. Another character in the family is this little heart problem character. And the heart problem character are our stem changing verbs. Now, your heart is an organ that is on the inside of your body. And so what we have happening is that these stem changing verbs, they have an internal issue going on. So something is happening with the stem. In a little while, well, in another lesson, I should say, you're going to learn about the stem of a verb versus the ending of a verb. So with our stem changing verbs, I like to say that they have heart problems. Heart problem verbs. And then our final character is this little one here who is on crutches. And being on crutches indicates that there's a problem with the leg, right? And the leg is found at the end of the body or at one extreme of the body. And so these verbs are what we call spelling change. And with spelling change verbs, the issue tends to take place closer to the end of the verb. And so our little alias for these verbs are foot problem. Foot problem verbs. And so here is what I want to bring across to you in this very short, very easy, very to the point introductory lesson on verbs. There are 3 families. I'm going to write it at the bottom there. Of course, you can stop the video. You can always scroll back. The summary of the lesson is this. There are 3 families of verbs. These 3 families are called AR, ER, IR. In addition to the 3 families, we also have what is happening in each family is that you will find 4 categories of these verbs. The 4 categories are regular, irregular, stem change, spelling change. And what happens is this in a nutshell. AR verbs, you're going to have regular AR verbs, irregular AR verbs, stem change AR verbs, spelling change AR verbs. You're going to have regular ER verbs, irregular ER verbs, stem change ER verbs, spelling change ER verbs. You're also going to have regular IR verbs, irregular IR verbs, stem change IR verbs, spelling change IR verbs. This little line diagram kind of looks a bit confusing. And so if you just remember these 3 houses, and what each of these little images stand for, it should help to cement that concept a little bit more clearly for you. That's all for this lesson. Adios.